I first want to recognize all the breast cancer survivors. If anybody that's a breast cancer survivor could please stand up, we can honor you. You're why we're here today. Thank you so much for being here. Now I'd like all the men in the room to stand up. Men. Thank you. Thank you for coming. I just want to do a little math today about how many men are affected by breast cancer. We all know that 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed in their lifetime with breast cancer. And we also know that every man has a mom, right? And half the men will get married, and another half will have a daughter or a sister. So with that said, I think we can conservatively say that 20 to 25% of all men in this country will have a mother, a sister, a daughter, or a wife diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime. That's a heck of a lot of men. And that doesn't count any of the co-workers, mother-in-laws, and family members that are also diagnosed. I'm certainly in that group. As Linda mentioned, I've had 4 women in my life be diagnosed with breast cancer. My mom, my wife, my sister, and my mom's best friend. When my mom was first diagnosed with breast cancer back in 1978, I didn't even know she was diagnosed. That's because she didn't know she was diagnosed. I was studying for a midterm in college when my mom went into the hospital to see if she might have cancer. The way she found out was after surgery, when her closest friend Carol, sitting next to her in the recovery room, stared down at her with tears in her eyes. Carol gently took my mom's hand and placed it on her breast, but my mom couldn't feel anything, because where my mom's hand was where her breast used to be. The doctors had done a radical mastectomy, and that's how my mom found out she had breast cancer. When my wife, Sharon Rappaport, was diagnosed, I was sitting right next to her in her surgeon's office. Now, the bedside manner of this doctor was really bad, really bad. She just had a lumpectomy done, which the doctor had previously told her there was about 99% chance it was just a benign cyst that she was dealing with. So there we were, sitting in a doctor's office, tiny little cubicle office in New York City, steely gray, January day, snow coming down. I mean, it was like something out of some bad television drama. And this guy on the phone, the doctor, is talking to a colleague about his golf short game. So I'm thinking, man, we're in the clear. I mean, here's this doctor. He's more concerned about his sand wedge and how he can lower his score than he is about his patient. I mean, how bad can it be? So the call kept going on and on and on about what courses he was going to play and how he was going to do this and that. And so Sharon started getting annoyed. But as a son, I had to tell my mom what bothered me most about her dying was that she would not be there to meet my future wife and kids. This is before I met Sharon. That's not true, she said. That's not true. I'm like, okay. She goes, don't you worry, I'll be there when the time is right. And I thought she'd just lost her mind. I thought, okay, that's interesting. 5 years and 5 months after my mom passed away, I was standing in my backyard holding my newborn son, Seth, alongside Sharon. And we were there for a naming ceremony. And up walked Carol and placed a scapula, which is like a little holy relic card of St. Francis de Sales, on Seth's chest. And then Carol said, this is for Seth from his grandma. So my mom had planned this out and was there that day, and she fulfilled her promise. As a husband, Sharon wanted to show me her scar right after surgery to make sure that she knew right there, right then, that I would fully accept her for what she'd just been through. I looked at the scar, then I touched the side of her face, tears in my eyes, and I said, you are more beautiful to me now than ever before. And it was right then that she accepted that I was accepting it, and she started crying like crazy, and that we were going to be okay. As a brother, I held my sister Mary's hands, crying with her, watching the scarlet red line of adriamycin streaming into her arm, while we thought about all the stuff that my mom had gone through. And we thought it kind of ironic where I'm sitting right next to her, and the drug is coming, and the nurses are holding these gloves like it's 3 Mile Island, because they're like, well, that'll burn to the floor, that'll burn through us, you can't. And like, okay, that's great, you're putting that in my sister's arm. That's great. Yeah, amen. And her concern was, she had 3 little boys, has 3 little boys, and was concerned whether she'd live to see them graduate and become adults. As a friend, Carol came up to me, looked me straight in the eye and told me that it had come back, and then started crying and worried whether she would see her kids grow up. So all of these were adventures for me in what I like to call cancer land. Now, it's impossible to describe what it's like to live in cancer land until you step foot in it. It sounds kind of like a kid's game, Cancerland, like Chutes and Ladders or Candyland, Cancerland. Well, most of you know that's the furthest thing from the truth. For Cancerland is a place filled with sickness, fear, anxiety, helplessness, disorientation, worry, self-criticism, self-doubt, guilt, panic, nervousness, stress, nausea, headaches, depression, isolation. It's a truly scary place at first. That's because most stories in Cancerland have good endings. Most women, the vast majority of them, go on to live vibrant, healthy, exciting lives for many, many years to come. And they're all right here. A lot of them are here with us right now today. Most people who take the Cancerland journey too, I feel, are transformed into kinder, wiser, better people. I think it makes you a better person going through this. Cancerland is a place where all of this stuff outside there, do I need a car, a second home, blah, 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 kind of all goes away, and all goes to the core of life, right, to what the meaning of life is all about, that you get a chance to experience. And as I mentioned in the talk we gave this morning, it's kind of like what Cuba Gooding Jr. refers to in the Jerry Maguire movie as the Kwan. The Kwan. You know, he goes, a Kwan. But to get to the Kwan, you got to earn it. You don't just get it. And it's very hard to go through. Breast cancer, according to Dr. Mary Jane Massey, who's at Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York, says it shatters lives into prisms. My wife's breast surgeon told me one time that it's like a house on fire that is burning to the ground. And the occupants of that house, the patient and their loved ones, have no idea what to do about that fire, how to get out of the house, or how to put it out. That's because most of them have never been to Cancerland before. There was nothing and no one there for me when I went through it with my mom, as a son, when I went through it as a husband, as a brother, and as a friend. As you well know, and Andrew has pointed this out, a guy's internal operating system doesn't work very well without directions. We're terrible. We're the worst at planning our daily home lives. That's because we got you. I mean, that's, I don't know what we'd be doing without women. But take away that guidance guru that we're talking about when she has breast cancer, and then see how well a guy does with no directions in the middle of her cancer treatment. It's pathetic. I mean, it's really bad. That's when I decided to write a guidebook for men, all men, not just husbands, but fathers, sons, brothers, friends, and co-workers. And I mentioned briefly the friends and co-workers because more and more friends and co-workers are our family, and they take care of us and they act and treat us just like immediate family. And so they have an important role. The book takes guys step by step through the entire process. Each chapter is a stage in that process. So there's a chapter on diagnosis, a chapter on picking doctors, a chapter on chemo, a chapter on radiation, on what they need to do and not do, maybe more important than what they need to do, as a caregiver to their loved ones during treatment. The most important thing that they need to do can be boiled down into 3 words. Stand by her. Right here. With your arm around her. Not in front of her, not behind her, but beside her. I mean, every journey is different for each and every cancer patient, so it's not like I can give, you know, every person's different, every doctor's different, every situation's different, but I do think there are 5 things that apply across the board. And I call them the starting 5 because, again, like us guys are simple. We like sports. We like, you know, cars. And we're very basic. So like 5. What's the 5? The first one is listen. The second one, I'm going to go through these. The first one is listen. The second one is follow, don't lead. The third one is laugh. The fourth one is show your love. And the fifth one is get support for her and for you. She's the one who chooses her final treatment regimen, and she needs the utmost respect from her medical team. Back in my mom's day, that wasn't the case. Here's how different it was in the 1970s. My dad knew my mom's diagnosis before she did. The doctor went right in there and told him what was going on. And she was in recovery. She was awake. Well, that really steamed my mom. For Ann Anderson was the head of nursing at her hospital. She was a wonderkind in the ER and had a master's in nursing. She really knew medical situations. So her response is, why did these white-coated blankety-blanks think they were for not telling me first? Who the heck do they think they are? For the record, that happened only one time, but they didn't tell her first. She was not going to put up with their shenanigans any longer. This holier-than-thou thing was over. But it wasn't easy because when she started to ask questions about her treatment options, her oncologist dismissed her categorically, saying he didn't have time for patients, he was the doctor, and he knew everything. He said he couldn't take what she was asking seriously because what did she know anyway? She was a patient, he was the doctor, that's it. Well, she fired right back at him and said he was treating her like a clown. He ignored her and just dismissed her. And that was a really bad call. Here she is again. If those white coats were going to treat me like a clown, then by God, I might as well dress up like a clown. And she did. Clown shoes, clown pants, clown nose, clown makeup, the works. She walked right into that oncologist's office for her next appointment as Boob the Clown. She was immediately ushered into another room. Out of the waiting area, out of all sight and sound of anybody. Boob the Clown never had to make another appearance again, and she never had a problem with any doctor again. Boob the Clown was legendary. Number 3, laugh. Well, laughter and humor, I think, is the best cure for all things when you're going through this. And funny moments, I'm sure everyone has some great stories. One of my favorites was with our youngest son, Isaac, who was 5 at the time when Sharon was going through treatment. And to him, he thought bald-headed women was normal. That was just a normal thing. So he kept saying, well, if Mommy can have a bald head, why can't I have a bald head? I want you to shave my head. I want a bald head. I want to go to kindergarten with a bald head. No, you're not going to kindergarten with a bald head. Did he stop obsessing about the bald head? No. No, that was every day. Well, one day, Isaac was having a play date with a 5-year-old girl that he kind of had a little crush on. And they got in an argument about whose parent was sicker. The little girl felt her daddy was sicker because he was coughing, sneezing, throwing up. He was a mess. But to the little girl, Isaac's mom looked totally normal. She wasn't coughing, sneezing, throwing up. There wasn't anything wrong with her. She had this really cool bandana on her head. But other than that, and that was cool. My daddy's sicker than your mom. Nuh-uh. My daddy's sicker than your mom. Nuh-uh. Over and over again, Isaac said, that's it. He reaches up, he said, well, my mom has cancer. And he ripped the bandana off, bald head, and little girl goes, oh my God, what happened? Little girl wasn't ready for that.